We are back at the Spartan Investor Conference 2025 in New York City. You're watching Idea Exchange. I'm Jane King, and with me is Krishna Ravindranathan, the former and founder and CEO of Mind Pharmaceuticals. So, explain Mind Pharmaceuticals.
So Mind Pharmaceuticals, it's a clinical stage biotech company in the CNS and psychiatry space. We specifically focus on treatment as depression, headache disorder prevention, and cluster headache disorder prevention. So we're clinical stage, meaning we have proof of efficacy with psychedelic drugs in particular across all these three indications with close to a dozen patients in each. And we're all set to move to phase 2B. All our assets are licensed from Yale University. The work was originally done at Yale, and we have in our team, key leaders in from the psychiatry department at Yale supporting our endeavor, part of our founding team, which includes Chris Pittenger, who's the director of the Yale Program for Psychedelic Science, and other key members from the whole antidepressant and migraine disorder space, leaders in that space. And also part of our team is Prakash Mangi, who's Chief Financial Officer, who's an expert in public markets. And what's interesting is we are targeting psychedelic drugs which show sustained efficacy versus typical drugs that are out in the market which have to be consumed every day. So
Okay.
that's the main difference. Differentiate.
So now I have been hearing lots of interesting studies about psychedelics, particularly with depression and post-traumatic stress disorder and things like that. Um, what are you seeing? Are these things that are unlocking parts of the mind and helping people with mental health that we have not seen before?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the key components of psychedelics is that you can have just one dose of the drug and it can have sustained efficacy with these disorders lasting from weeks to months. This is contrary to drugs typically out there in the market which you have to consume every day. And the reason is because it it manifests basic neuroplastic changes in the brain which allow this efficacy to manifest. So it's a much deeper thing than what typically happens with
Yeah.
a lot of drugs.
Now, when you say psychedelics, what particular drugs are you talking about?
So the specific one we are targeting is, in fact, there are two of them. So one of them is DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine. It's actually the active component of ayahuasca. So there was this work done at Yale Psychiatry by Professor Cyril D'Souza, who first showed that you can have just a 30-minute psychedelic trip versus the ones that are typically out there in clinical trials like psilocybin, which is 8 hours long, with just 30 minutes. But in spite of it just being 30 minutes, you have the sustained efficacy. That's a remarkable discovery, which is what I think our whole we're hinging our company on. So,
What kind of challenges are you facing though? Because you're dealing with hallucinogenic drugs.
yes, yes.
I mean, are you getting pushback from the FDA or are they becoming more open to this, would you say?
So I think part of the theme that runs in common investor sentiment and commonly as people know is that there will be pushback from the FDA, and one of the reasons for the pushback is because the trips are very long, right, 8 hours, and that makes it quite difficult to get it into the clinic essentially. That's from the FDA and as well as from the pharmaceutical industry in general. I mean, how do you have an 8-hour thing? You've got to be in a hospital or that sort of thing. But that's where we come in.
Okay.
So we are very similar to the play with ketamine, where
Yes.
ketamine, the trip can be very short, but still you have efficacy. And that's a established clinical delivery model which we can follow on. And even strategically, the way we are building up our team, some of the leaders who developed ketamine, the key pioneering figures in the whole movement, we're bringing them into our team as well.
Are there side effects that you've seen?
So side effects with psychedelics are typically quite low, contrary to the common perception of it, because it has very low addictive potential. And side effects with CNS drugs or most drugs is because you consume them every day. With psychedelics, you consume it one day and it sort of exits your system within the same day. So side effect profile is in fact
Yeah.
extremely good.
Now, the people that have been in your trials, what kind of stories have they told you?
So it's common to hear people telling me, things like it's among the top 5 experiences of their life, equal to a child being born or even getting married, that sort of thing. And even for me, I came into the space. I've personally never tried any psychedelics, but that said, I've been a long-term practitioner of meditation,
Mm.
and I would go for these meditation retreats where I would go, hungry and silent and meditate for hours on end for many days. Quite often come out of it feeling transformed, like there's a shift in my mind. The problems around me seem to vanish, right? And there's a difference between what's happening around me, the problems around, but how I'm feeling. I'm feeling ecstatic inside. That's what drew me to this whole psychedelics, because I figured that you don't need to starve for 5 days. You could just have this drug, okay, and it doesn't have many side effects, but it could still have the same sustained efficacy that. So it's kind of it's a very spiritually rewarding experience.
Okay. Very interesting. I know there's some amazing research going on in this area, so thank you very much for explaining that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us as well. We will be back with some more interviews.